Veltman is never, ever going to take a free kick in that situation. To send a player off for a second yellow card for that, it just shouldn't happen. It's got to be more proactive than reactive.
England's Mr Nice Guy Declan Rice received the first red card of his career during Arsenal's 1-1 draw with Brighton, and it sparked major global controversy. We'll cover that and all the other big decisions of the weekend in this episode 3 of SunSport's Whistleblower with former Prem ref Mark Halsey. Mark is not scared of upsetting the PGMOL, referees or fans. He just says it how it is, and that is exactly what supporters have been crying out for. Mark, great to see you again. Only one place to start, obviously at Arsenal. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, good morning, Will. Yeah, great weekend for me with QPR beating Luton Town, so I'm very happy. Yeah, listen, it's been a massive talking point, hasn't it? I think everyone's split and divided. But you know, if we look at the law 12 failing, delaying the restart of play, for me, I don't think Declan Rice has done that. We can clearly see the defender kick the ball, hits Declan Rice, still moving, and Declan just kicks it away, just flicks the ball away a couple of feet. So for me, I think in law, there's no way that Brighton could have taken that quick free kick, because it would have been wrong in law because the ball was still moving. The ball has to be stationary when taking a free kick, and as we've seen in other games where the referee stopped the play and used a signal that the ball's rolling. I just felt that, you know, at that level, referee Chris Kavanagh should have managed that incident better. He's got to be more proactive than reactive.
Mark, you said in your Sun column at the weekend you thought Chris Kavanagh, the referee, was looking for trouble. Yeah,
listen, I think he was. I mean, in those situations when something goes off like that, you're walking in there, you're hitting the whistle straight away. And for me, he should have got in there and give both players, you know, a talking to and warned them to their future conduct. To send a player off for a second yellow card for that, at that level, it just shouldn't happen. And I would have thought that the PGMOL management will or should be giving him some operational advice at that incident. Although they will be supporting him, also for me, they should be talking to him about that incident. And if you look, I mean, I watched the game. I mean, if you look, I think Pedro, I think it was the first half, he absolutely wedded the ball 60, 70 yards down as it just went out for the throw, delayed the restart.
OK, let's just break it down, Mark, go back to the beginning. So, first of all, Declan Rice is booked. His first booking was for a challenge on Joao Veltman. Quite a late lunge. He was lucky his studs weren't up any further because it probably could have been a red, but no questions about that. Yellow. Then it's a tangle with Veltman in the corner of the pitch. Declan Rice fouls him yet again. Not worthy of a second yellow, that probably. And Veltman gets up, rolls the ball towards Declan Rice with his feet as he's preparing to take the free kick. It hits Declan Rice. He nudges it out of play, and then Veltman does he sort of, you know, I'm trying to take the free kick, and then collides with Declan Rice like that. After, you know, it's one of those things really where if Declan Rice has still delayed play, hasn't he? And whether if he hadn't have done that, Veltman might have been able to take the free kick quicker, or Declan Rice supposed to move a certain amount of distance away from the free kick. He's still committed an offence, has he not?
His first caution for a reckless challenge was well deserved. No complaints about that. But if you look at his second caution, now Veltman is never ever going to take a free kick in that situation. Never going to take a free kick. Okay, and also in law, a player has to be 9.51 metres away from the free kick. So he wasn't there. So in the spirit of the game, spirit of the law, Veltman was just as much to blame as what Declan Rice was. Yes, Declan has just kicked it away or just touched it away a couple of feet. How many times do you see that happen in every game that you go and watch, or every game that we see? Happens all the time. All the time.
Right, well, let's talk about that then, Mark, right, the Joao Pedro one in the first half, because he, for anyone who hasn't seen it, he runs the ball out of play, just about, it just goes out for a throw-in while he's running down the wing, and he boots the ball sort of 50-odd yards probably, right in front of Mikel Arteta, who, as usual, is 10 metres outside of his technical area. He was fuming about it. Joao Pedro then isn't booked. And then that's what Arsenal fans are talking about later in the game, and you're talking about consistency there, but two wrongs don't make a right, do they? What we want actually is as many correct decisions as possible, rather than a referee just trying to balance up an error he feels he's made earlier in the game.
Yeah, listen, come on, there's a difference in there. Blasting the ball 60, 70 yards or blasting the ball, 10, 15 yards to just flicking the ball that rolls a couple of feet. Come on. I'm sorry, I'm not having that. And at that level, at that elite level, you just don't send off players for those situations. If you look at our top referees, Michael Oliver, Anthony Taylor, who are streets ahead, that would not have happened if they were refereeing, because they would have managed that situation far better than Chris Kavanagh did.
OK, Mark, and just one more element of this whole situation then. Joel Veltman, he claimed after the game that when he kicked out at Declan Rice that he was trying to take the free kick. If he was, it's the craziest free kick technique I've ever seen in my life. Regardless of what happened with Declan Rice and whether that was the right or wrong decision to send him off, a lot of fans, Arsenal fans in particular, saying Veltman should have been definitely given a card, either yellow or red. What do you make of that? And if so, what colour should that card have been?
Yeah, obviously it was checked by VAR for violent conduct. And you could argue he was lucky not to be, you could say, was it petulance or was it violent conduct? To be honest, I think both players should have been spoken to and dealt with on there with possibly 2 yellow cards or a verbal warning. Now, Veltman to turn around and say he was taking a quick free kick, I'm sorry, it's absolutely nonsense. I've played the game at a good level, and I'm telling you now, there was no one he could have passed to. There was no one he could have passed to. The referee could have blown his whistle, said, "Oh, hang on, let the player get 9.51 metres," and the ball was still moving. So it's nonsense. I'm sorry, I'm not having that.
Well, that brings us on nicely, Mark, to another 2 handball decisions that weren't in the Nottingham Forest Wolves game. 1-1 it was at the City Ground. And the first one, Wolves striker Jurgen Strand Larsen was not penalised for a handball. The ball comes over the top towards Chris Wood. It's in the Wolves penalty area. Larsen is just staring straight at Wood, and the ball hits him on the elbow as it's coming down, clearly impeding the ball's path towards Wood. No penalty given. And then, bizarrely, almost the exact same thing happens at the other end later in the game. Chris Wood defending this time against Wolves defender Craig Dawson, who was attacking another aerial ball in. Almost the same thing, hits Wood on the arm, but he's just looking at Dawson, not looking in the direction of the ball. No penalty given. Once again, I was certainly confused. What did you make of it?
Well, yeah, listen, one thing we can say is that Simon Hooper was consistent in his decision-making regarding handball in the penalty areas. Now, what you have to ask yourself, was the arm of both players in a natural position for that phase of play? Even though they're not looking at the ball, were their arms in a natural position? And you have to say, again, it's subjective, but in my view is, yes, their arms were in a natural position for those phases of play, even though they weren't looking. I mean, his arm, when you're in that running motion, your arm is going to be up a little bit, and it strikes his arm. And for me, I think if penalties were given, it would have been very, very harsh.
Yeah, I just think it's sets a bit of a dangerous precedent if you can, as a defender, not look at the ball at all, just stare at the person that you're marking. And if the ball hits you on the arm, which is a clear benefit to the defensive team, that there's no getting penalised for it. And I think we were chatting about it in the office, I think I would be irritated if that happened, if I was the attacking team and my team didn't get a penalty.
Listen, on handling the ball, okay, it's got to be a deliberate movement of the arm towards the ball, okay? And then your arm has got to be in an unnatural position, and have you made yourself intentionally bigger? That's the criteria for a deliberate handball. And for me, that didn't meet that criteria.
Yeah, I'm not convinced you could just get away with just not even looking at the ball, staring at the player you're marking.
Yeah, but you're running back, but his arm's in a natural position. He can't see where the ball's going to be, can he? So listen, listen. Handling the ball it is so confusing for everybody. They just need to simplify the law.
Right, let's move on. You've mentioned it already, Mark. Will Hughes, Chelsea versus Crystal Palace, 1-1 the final score was. Great result for Palace, but could have all been different if Will Hughes, who'd already been booked, was given a second yellow card for not a bad, brutal challenge, not an obvious pullback or trip on Cole Palmer, but he was running towards the Crystal Palace penalty area in a central position. A free kick was given, but Hughes not booked for a second time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, look, I think none of us want to see players sent off. We want to see 11v11, and referees do their best to do that to make sure that happens. But when you look at that change, I expected watching that. I expected because I was watching it live, and I expected Will Hughes to receive a second yellow card, knowing what the referee how the referees caution the players these days. I think Will Hughes even thought he was going to be sent off for it. I think that. Yeah, I think everybody thought that perhaps Will Hughes was going to be sent off for a second yellow card, and even the manager took him straight off after that, didn't he? You look at that and you think, yeah, that's a clear second yellow card for denying a promised attack because he was bearing down on goal. Then you look at that and you look at what Declan Rice was sent off for. It's just no comparison, is there?
Absolutely brilliant as usual. Thanks so much for joining us again for episode 3 of SunSport's Whistleblower with ex-Premier League referee Mark Halsey. Mark will be with us after each and every Premier League game week to run the rules over all the good, bad and ugly decisions. Mark is not scared of upsetting fans, the PGMOL or referees. He just says it how it is, which is exactly what supporters have been crying out for. Make sure you subscribe to SunSport on YouTube and, of course, Sun Football across all of our socials to make sure you never miss an episode of The Whistleblower for the rest of the season.